Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice.
Pretty voice.
Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss.
A boss.
Join us each week for business owner strategies and success with your hosts Anne Ganguzza and Gabrielle Nistico, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry.
Rock your business.
Rock your business.
Rock your business.
Like a boss.
Like a boss.
Rock your business like a boss.
Rock your business like a boss. A VO boss.
A VO boss.
A VO boss.
Let's talk, Gabby.
Let's talk. All right.
Welcome to the VO Boss podcast. I'm your host, Anne Ganguzza, along with my co-host and boss bestie, Gabby Nistico. Gabby!
Hey, how you doing? Are you rolling? Hold on. Are you rolling?
I'm rolling.
You sure? You sure you're recording?
Are we ready?
Okay.
Are you ready to talk?
Right.
Are you ready to
Yeah,
talk
of
with
course
me?
I'm always ready to talk.
All right.
To you,
Good, I got
always.
my coffee. It's always about
Oh my
coffee
God,
and talking.
Always. I
When
got
we're
some water.
talking about-
I got some water. I'm good.
Gabby, we need to talk about accents today. So much fun.
We do. So here's the deal. Diana Conley, who works, on the podcast, she's one of our staff, also a voice actress. She pointed out to me, not so subtly, while we were at VO Atlanta, that periodically, as Ann and I really get going, the further we progress into an episode, the more likely it is that our original accents and speech patterns start to come out. And so I was like,
talking faster.
Talking a little faster.
And
We
I
get a
start
little
talking
boss.
a little bit more. Yeah, I get a little
Little boss
bossy,
action
a little more
going.
Jersey. I find that, yes, when I go back to Jersey as well, when I start talking to people, my accents come back. So let's talk about accents and how they affect us in voiceover.
I think it's a great discussion. I don't feel like it's touched on often enough. So yeah, if you don't already know, I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up on Long Island.
Long Island.
So when my speech as a kid, I mean, I think about it and I think about growing up and my friends and the way it was horrible, absolutely horrible. These weird, very harsh New York affectations that when I was in radio in New York, by comparison to the general population, my accent was much less than everyone else. So it was interesting because living there, people would go, "Oh, you don't sound like you're from here at all." But then you leave.
Gabby, I'm originally not from New York City area, but from upstate New York.
Upstate,
so for
right.
me, everything was very much like a flat A, like water, car. It almost sounded Bostonian in a little bit.
Or Canadian.
And what happened, or Canadian, exactly. And what happened when I moved to New Jersey and I started saying water, car, and things like that, they just made so much fun of me.
Of course.
I ultimately, after hanging out for 23 years, like I did with Jerseyans, with New Jerseyans, I started to adopt a lot of the same accent. And then I went into voiceover and literally had to really try to neutralize, because back then, Gabby, and this is me, older, back then it was very advantageous to have a very neutral accent, especially because I did a lot of narration, and that's what they called for, and that's what they like. It still is, but not as much, Gabby. There are some forgivings, I think, as of late, because of the whole trend to be inclusive and have diverse
conversational
real voices. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I agree. And I know exactly what you're talking about. And I think the same holds true for me. When I first got started, it was critical. You had to be accent neutral. You had to. And so we were all faced with this. No matter where in the country or in the world we were from as voice actors, we had to neutralize and just eradicate the cultural differences.
Accent.
Yes.
And that was because, for no other reason but to be able to sell, right? And your market was greater.
Yeah.
Because it was the belief that you could sell more to a broader audience if you had a neutral accent. Because it wouldn't be like, oh, this product is only in the South, or this product is only in New York. Neutralizing meant that a company could sell a product in more places. And your voice could be used in more places rather than regionally.
Yeah. People are still very judgmental, and they always will be. And one of the things that human beings will always be judged on is how they speak, the way they pronounce things, the influences upon their speech patterns. So nationwide, there are stereotypes about different regions and how we perceive them. And that's, what perpetuates all of this. It's not a matter of is it right, is it wrong? We're not here for that. We're not here to debate that or even get into it. It's simply, what do we do with this? How do we as voice actors use this information? What's important to our businesses?
I think you really have to think about what genres you're working in, number one.
Yeah.
Where is an accent fitting and where is an accent maybe not necessarily as fitting?
Agreed. I'll use myself as this example. So I've been in the southern United States almost as long as I lived in New York. It's almost right down the middle now. Mm-hmm. So some things I say are still very northern, and some things have sort of a southern tinge now, because we assimilate, right? That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens to pretty much everyone when you move them somewhere. Vocally, they just chameleon into whatever the norm is.
Yep.
In commercial work, it's not as important anymore as it used to be. In commercial work, they want a little bit of that flair, that sense of realness, that sense of someone who's not quite so perfect a speaker.
Exactly. And even so much as that global, right? Have we all heard about the global accent, right? It's not even like localized to, let's say, British accent or
it's made up.
Australian or new.
No.
It's actually, it's the global or the international sound.
It's a made-up European. It's
exactly
that doesn't exist.
Exactly, and that's because it'll cover a whole lot more area than just, let's say, the UK.
Exactly. But here's the thing. So, while commercial is seeking these things out, video game, character work, all of that, yes, of course, there's a home for accented speakers there.
Oh, yeah, and audiobooks as well. Mm-hmm.
Then we get into things like medical narration and corporate narration and e-learning.
So
it's like, whoa,
I'm going to say for medical and for e-learning, unless you are in a specific region, more of a neutral accent is going to be preferable just because the voiceover can be used pretty much anywhere and be understood. For most e-learning, you're not necessarily trying to sell anything. You're simply informing and teaching. So therefore, you have to be clear and you have to be articulate. And so that's where I think that whole thing comes in. Some corporate narration really is a soft sell. And so there might be a call for accents in corporate narration, especially when we're talking about global companies that sell to not just the United States, but all over the world. That might call for an international or a global accent, or even if you have an accent of any type, would not necessarily be turned away.
No, but it is an interesting thing, though, because domestically, I've always paid attention to this. We see anything overseas, anything foreign, as something exotic, and it's interesting, and it's different, and people are drawn to it.
Yes.
But the same doesn't hold true for the accents that are domestic and that belong to the United States. Instead, we perceive those as uneducated, or it's, again, living in the South, this is such a common thing here, right? It's just, people, they speak kind of funny and they're slower and they don't have the same level of education. None of it's true. None of it's accurate.
Yeah, very interesting.
But these things still exist.
I was going to say, why is it that as Americans we would buy anybody that had a British accent would sell to us, right?
Right? Isn't that strange?
Yeah, and for a long time, anybody that had a British accent in e-learning was quite in demand.
Yeah.
Because they made a brand sound elegant. And that is our perception of that. I guess I'm saying that European listening to American, unless it's some sort of a translated language from Spanish and then United States, that sort of thing, or whatever it might be, French and American, having dual language commercials or something that might be dubbed. Mm-hmm. That's where I feel that they would want the American accent. Other than that, it could be back to what you had just said about there's levels of education.
But again, the same holds true in other countries. You're right. Sometimes they will hear an American accent and go, ooh. it's just, to them it's exotic, it's different, it's unique, it's sexy. And I'm like, okay. It's kind of a fun little thing. It really is interesting how we perceive these things. Now, let's talk about what it means for voice actors that are maybe a little bit newer, people who are just getting going. The first thing I think is so important is to understand we're all from somewhere. And you can make huge strides in reducing or modifying your accent or regionalism, as it were. But are you ever going to completely eradicate it? Probably not. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, and to do so, Gabby, my goodness, do you ever watch late night TV and you'll hear an interview with someone that's been an actor that you've known all your life, and then all of a sudden they'll answer a question with a British accent, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Like, that happened to me all the time. I had no idea. And they actually had probably spent years studying, right? The American,
years and years before I
American
realized Nicole
accent.
Kidman was Australian. Yeah, I had no clue.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So if you, as a voiceover talent, are looking to completely, I guess, eradicate your accent, remember where it's from, know that it's going to take some time and some resources and probably some investment to be able to do so. And, when I get students that come to me and they have an accent, I usually try to work with it. And if they really, really want to eradicate it, I have them work with a dialect coach. But
what did you do?
Work with a global accent. What did I do?
What was your process?
Well, I actually went to a dialect coach to understand where they were to begin with, because you have to be able to hear them in order to eradicate them. Yep. And then worked on it. And then ultimately, I really just tried to assimilate with other people that had a more neutral accent, because a lot of it is immersing yourself with people and friends, and speaking and hearing and listening. All of that was a big help to me. What about you?
I mimicked.
Yeah.
I mimicked national broadcasters. CNN was my lifeblood. And I would, every single word that an anchor said in a story, I would repeat it back.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically
absolutely.
To see if I was saying it the same way or not. And if I wasn't, then I was making mental notes of those words. And the other thing is, too, and with broadcast and voiceover, this is kind of fun because your friends will help you do this. If you make them aware and you say, hey, I'm trying to work on this. If you really hear me say something, that, tell me. Exactly. And so for about, 2 or 3 years, I'd say, everyone I worked with in radio would just say it again. They would just say the word back to me the minute I said it.
Oh, there it is. But that would be me too. Yeah, it would be. There it is. Every time I say tawlk,
it's aggravating.
With the A, right? With the Jersey A, right? Or the coffee. Whenever I did that, the tawlk. There it is.
Horrible.
Boom. Oh, there's your Jersey. Oh, okay. And then I would know, and then I would start to listen for it, and I would start to watch out for it. It's not easy, though, guys.
It's
I want you to know. It's not easy, and you cannot correct it until you hear it. No. And you're not going to be able to hear it until you actually, know what it is and get it pointed out to you. And so what a great idea, Gabby. Have your friends help you.
Fun fact, you'll get worse before you get better.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like learning how to speak again.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you become so overly conscious that your diction starts to do weird things. Yeah.
You get all proper and everything.
Yeah.
But it's
you
not
overcorrect.
Impossible at all. Alex Lee was a student of mine a long time ago, but he was very conscious, right, of any accent that he had. And he does a lot of work now in video games. He was one of the most dedicated people I knew that wanted to really neutralize his accent, and he worked his tail off, let me tell you, to do so, and really has made great strides in his own career. But I don't think it was inhibiting him, but it was just something that he set his mind to, and I would say made amazing progress in a year. On really reforming his speech patterns. And it was something that until he knew, and I remember I would just stop him every time. He would, he would hit a word or hit a vowel sound, and I'd say, there it is. Boom, there it is. Just mark it up in your script. And that also helped too, I think, where he would actually just underline vowels or words that he would commonly mispronounce, or not mispronounce, but just not have an American accent on. Yeah. So that was something that I know that he was very conscientious, and it's amazing how far he came in a year.
We have to do due diligence when it comes to these things. We have to really look at our family. We have to look at the people around us, the people who were close to us when we were growing up, and sort of say, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, how heavy is their regionalism or accent? Because the heavier it is for them, that's likely where it falls for you as well.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also assessing the fact that there are some parts of the country that are almost accentless, almost.
Yes, yes.
Or at least very neutral. Ohio.
Neutral.
Ohio, a lot of the Midwest.
Midwest.
Tends to be.
Midwest.
Yeah.
Gabby, if I go back to New Jersey and I start hearing people talk, I will absolutely just match right up with them again. It's amazing how much I hear the accent once I go back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you go back to New York, you hear it.
Oh, yeah. Takes me 2 seconds. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then
I
we're
just
either
fall right in
talking
line.
it with them. Yeah, we're talking, and we talk faster, louder, and...
Oh, yeah. All of our R's disappear.
Yep.
my poor husband is standing there going, who are you? Who is this woman? Like, he doesn't recognize me at all. It's really funny.
I don't even know what you just said, because you just said it like 10 times faster than normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I need a
people say that to
translator,
me.
please. And then also areas where you don't find a lot of people who are locals, like where you have a lot of transplants, also have a much reduced California. The state of California, by and large, has a very reduced accent because not a lot of people that you meet there are from there.
Agreed. Yes.
At least that's what I've always found, especially in LA. Everyone's from somewhere else, and so
everyone is a transplant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the accent becomes kind of neutralized or reduced. We see a little bit of that here in Charlotte.
Or they hold right onto it. They hold right onto their accent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're in their own communities, right, where they're all speaking. They're
Right.
It's just like New York, right? They'll have like a little Italy section. They'll have, all different,
of
different
course.
sections of town too, where and they're not in voiceover necessarily.
No, and that's
Right.
the thing, guys. Again, it's why I'm very quick to point out the difference between foreign accent or non-native U.S. speaker versus a domestic dialect. Because if English is not your first language and you're pursuing voice acting, chances are you are pursuing it in your native tongue. So your accent is essential. It's part of that art form. But domestically, it's a little bit different.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And there's some great resources, great places that you can go to. I'm a huge fan of speech pathology in general. I think it's an art form unto itself and a science and can be very beneficial to voice actors. And then, again, get a little bit of an accountability group going, people who will kind of poke at you and go, hey, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
You said that funny.
Lots of great resources. I'm happy to talk to anybody about the dialect coach that I worked with, and also even one of our podcast guests from before, Monique Bagwell, works on
that's right,
accent reduction as well. So there's lots of resources out there, guys, for you if you want to start working on that. Again, I don't think it's as critical as it used to be because these days we're now looking for more natural, authentic, native speakers. And that is actually, I think, a great thing because I think that really it's voiceover for all.
It can be part of your brand. It can be part of your marketing.
Exactly.
That's what's amazing. We're finally at a place where having something that makes us unique, makes us individuals, can actually be a benefit. And it can be an integral part of your voiceover business. It's simply knowing and understanding the difference.
Right. Know your markets.
If your accent's going to limit you significantly, make some adjustments. If it's not, roll with it.
I say as long as you can be understood, you can absolutely maybe use it. And I would say even go so far, some people I know go so far as to even have a specific demo with their accents.
Absolutely. I have some of those.
You can market it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Understand your own, understand the market that would be buying for that particular accent. I don't know if I would necessarily mix in 100 different accents in a demo unless it was a character demo. But if you are really good at a specific accent, hey, there's nothing stopping you from creating a demo or even something like I call mini demos, right? That have a couple of examples of spots with you speaking in that accent, and you can help to market yourself that way.
Yeah, it becomes part of a repertoire. It becomes part of this bigger resume that we offer. And again, character acting, like everything else, is becoming so niche in our industry. It's worth it to separate them out so that a particular buyer can find you faster and more easily.
I love that we talked about this today.
I know. It's so good to talk to you. Anytime. Anytime.
Oh, Gabby.
It's like butter.
All right, guys. It's like butter.
I had to say it at least once.
Huge shout out to our favorite sponsor, IPDTL. You too can sound like a boss and connect like a boss to your clients. Find out more at IPDTL.com.
And also, we want to give a big thanks to Voiceovers.com, the newest player in the game. Oh, man, we are really excited about what these guys are doing. Efficient, fair, transparent, Voiceovers.com. Your voice, your way. Check them out.
They're awesome.
Aren't they? They're the best.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, be good.
We'll talk.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
All right, we'll talk next week. Okay.
We'll talk later. Coffee
All right,
talk.
bye. All right.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Anne Ganguzza and Gabby Nistico. All rights reserved. Anne Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.